Hey, happy Wednesday. It's been a busy day here on the Wagertalk YouTube channel. I've got Adam Trigger joining me tonight. We're going to talk a little NIT basketball, of course, some Final Four, and hit the rest of the baseball slate. If you guys have a question regarding any of those sports, drop it in your perspective chat, Twitter, Instagram, or the YouTube channel. You guys do want to hit some NBA, I will do my best. I only got to peek at the card for just a little bit of time. Adam, how's your baseball season going so far?
Okay. I mean, I haven't played that many games. I think, I lost the Marlins earlier, so I think 2-3, 2-4, something like that. But again, it's a very long season. I'm not that worried about it. We're so early that just going to keep plugging away. We've got 6 months of baseball, so trying to stay select.
How do you attack your first baseball? I mean, it's early. How are you going to attack? Would you separate? Do you separate it into maybe quadrants, 4 separate quadrants, couple before the All-Star break, after, and then postseason?
So for me, I think because I, kind of keep track and watch AAA and Korean baseball, it keeps me a little bit honest in terms of how much MLB I'm firing, which I'm happy about, right? Because it's easy, right? In years past, I feel like it's been easy to just make 2-3 bets a day because we're playing every single day, and you kind of get attached to teams, and it's just, and then of course, Cal, this is something that comes up in baseball that doesn't really come up in other sports. It's sometimes if you swing and miss on a play, you have the chance to come right back the next day with the same matchup, right? You can just run it back, if you will. And I feel like I've gotten in trouble, doing that in the past. So I just try to, focus equally on all 3 leagues: AAA, Major League Baseball, Korean baseball. And then I'm just kind of, picking spots based on, I'll have a list of pitchers that I know I want to, find a spot to play on, or maybe a spot to play against. And then I've got a couple of teams that I feel like I have a really good beat on, a couple of teams that I'm maybe much higher than the market, much lower than the market. It's not more than 2 or 3 at this point. And so I'll look for spots to play on or against them, all while really, being, trying to be disciplined enough to not lay more than minus 110. Because that's another thing that in past years.
So minus 110 your threshold? Or would you say for anybody that wants to buy your package, are we talking minus 135 is the highest you're willing to go?
Oh, no. I think so. I'll go up to minus 130 or so in Korean baseball. And the reason I'll do that is because I think I have a bigger edge in Korean baseball if I'm just picking spots based on I'm probably only going to play something minus 130 when I think I have, maybe some info that wasn't factored into the number. As far as Major League Baseball is concerned, I probably won't lay more than minus 115 this year. I went back through the last couple of years, and I don't think I was hitting them. Even my phenomenal year that I had in 2022. Last year was not good. 2022 was amazing. Looking at both of those, I just wasn't hitting minus 135, minus 140 at a consistent enough clip to justify laying minus 135 or minus 140. So yeah, I'm going to be pretty specific with, minus 110, minus 115, or try to find an underdog, try to find a plus price.
Okay, good info. I like that. So we kind of know what we're working with here with Adam Trigger for the, foreseeable baseball season. All right, real quick, little housekeeping note. Pam Maldonado and I are doing a $50,000 Masters pool over on splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. You get 5 golfers, well, technically 6. We're going to cut your worst golfer. They're going to take the cumulative score, and the person with the lowest score is going to win. $25 buy-in. You can have up to 33 entries again. splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. You have until April 11th, 8 a.m., which is basically when they tee off, to enter. So excited for that one. Been doing a lot of stuff with the Splash guys. If you guys want to get involved, the bracket madness has been fun. The Bittersweet 16 was just brutal. We got 4 teams remaining. Adam Trigger, I asked you before we started the show, said, hey, you selling any baseball or basketball this week? And you said, no, I'm just going to give it out for free. I've got an opinion, and I'm curious how you feel about it as well. I like the Tide here plus the points, and I'm not trying to just step in front of this UConn freight train that's covered 10 in a row. And I understand the Tide are going to have to knock down a ton of threes in order to possibly win this game. I'm not saying they're going to win it. I don't even think they really have that good of an outside shot because they don't play any defense. But 12 points. What are we doing here, Adam? 12 points. I made this like 8.5, 9.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think I actually made it 7.5. So if we're just talking numbers here, Kelly, like my number says play Alabama. Now I don't bet that way. I never just bet like on a number, so that's not that's not any different than any other point in the season. But I guess like I want to point something out is why is UConn suddenly being treated like they've never lost a game before? Like, I get it. Like, they're super dominant, and this run has been incredible. I was on them all year last year, had a nice future on them to win the thing. But, like, I just feel like, the reason that they've won and they're winning by margin is because it takes a very, like, almost like not like a perfect game, but you have to play as an opponent probably your best game to beat UConn, okay? And the last two teams that UConn, really the last three, if we'll throw out Stetson, Northwestern, San Diego State, Illinois, none of them even played close to their best game. So why does that mean Alabama can't play their best game? If Alabama plays to the top of their potential, they could win this game. Like, that's the thing, like, I think we're collectively forgetting here is if Alabama comes out and plays their A game, they can beat UConn, right? Because we've seen Seton Hall do it. We saw Creighton do it, right? Like, so they certainly can lose a game. Now, what that means, though, for Alabama, they're going to have to hit a high percentage of shots. You already said that. They're going to need to make their threes. And, they just can't make a ton of mistakes. San Diego State had a really poor game plan, in my opinion. I thought Brian Dutcher would have had a much better game plan having seen UConn in the national final last year and had the ability to adjust off that. Just wasn't very good. And then Illinois was tied until they weren't, right? Like, you can't give up the 30-0 run. 10-0 run.
No, you can't.
30-0 run,
and I might still be a little frosty that I didn't cover that 5-point first half. I had the great analysis, the great read. Listen, UConn's been one of the more prolific second half teams all year. You mentioned that Creighton loss, right? That was right after the Kelly and Murray fan base decided, well, we're going to take plus 750. And boy, do they look really smart right now, right? I mean, Alabama on the money, or excuse me, UConn on the money line is a steep price once again here. I'm going to say this much. I got to give Nate Oates a little bit of credit. I think what his team has been able to do is nothing short of incredible, considering they don't play a ton of defense. Here's my question for you, Adam. I mentioned they have to bang down a ton of threes if they want to win this game. What does Alabama do well that teams like Creighton, who were able to beat this UConn team, do well? Or was that just an off night for the Huskies? They got caught kind of sandbagging it.
Well, there's a couple things. Yeah, it wasn't the best spot for UConn to go play Creighton. It was kind of like they just came off the Marquette game and had to go to Omaha in the middle of the week. But Creighton played their A game, right? Creighton went 14 for 28 from three in that game, 50%, shot 55% from the field, matched UConn's intensity on both ends, matched them on the glass, didn't turn the ball over. So for Alabama, I mean, I think it's almost like unfair a little bit to call them bad defensively, because it's just they don't prioritize defense like other teams do. And they prioritize getting up threes. They prioritize getting out and pushing the tempo, adjusted tempo, number 9 in college basketball. They get out and getting to the rim. They just don't prioritize defense. It doesn't mean they're a bad defensive team. They're still a top 25 rebounding team. I think they've been top 75 in shot blocking. They can test shots. They have freak athletes. So they just don't play as much defense because that's sort of Nate Oates' philosophy. It's just kind of the way he's played. So really, like, two things for Alabama. They need their athleticism to make a difference, and they need the shot volume to matter, right? Like, they got to get shots up, and they need a good enough percentage of those to go in to hang around. If they have a stretch where they go cold, see you most likely, right? But yeah, Bama no D. I very much disagree with that, because even with, okay, we're going to say they don't play defense, they're still 105th nationally adjusted defense, okay? Like, they're still in the top third of college basketball teams defensively. But like, it's just not their priority like it is for some other teams. So I think the whole Bama doesn't play D is a little bit flawed. But again, UConn, they're so efficient, and you cannot make mistakes against them. They're number one in offensive efficiency. They're number four in defensive efficiency. They don't beat themselves at either end of the floor. They play a slow tempo, but it's not like slow to the point where they'll hit you on transition in transition and score a bucket. So it's like they can play your game. They can play their game. If you're Alabama, you have to hit some shots and let the athleticism take over. And if they do that, I think they're in the game.
I would agree with you there. Frank Martin, I think, was who I was following that commented on UMass head coach, former K-State head coach, in regards to the type of shot selection that Alabama takes. If you look at a shot map of it, they look like an NBA team. They're taking no mid-range jumpers. And I think that has worked out really well for them as opposed to the other teams in the Final Four this year. The other thing that he talked about was how they utilize their center, which is what the other three teams don't do. And I forget exactly what it was, Adam. I'd have to find the tweet again. But I found it rather interesting. So I think it sounds like the consensus is Adam and I, Bama or pass. Shall we move on to the next one? This one's a little bit more tricky, Adam. NC State has been a square dog for the entire tournament. I don't know what to do. Now they're, 9.5 here on the Wagertalk odds screen. To Purdue team, they got hey, I laid 3 with Purdue. I said, all right, it's come down too low. I know they're going to get those late whistles. And they looked terrible for the first 10 minutes of that game. And then they started to turn things up. And of course, Zach Edey got the whistles. A lot of people angry about that one, but I even said that was part of the reason why I was going to bet that team. NC State, kind of Cinderella-esque, right? Doing what they were able to do. Do they keep the run going here? 9.5 seems like a lot. I kind of lean towards the Boilermakers and getting back to the finals in regards to, losing to a 16 seed, kind of like that Virginia, right? That Virginia team, they lost to a 16 seed, came back, won it the next year. Purdue sure looks like a team that might be looking ahead, though, to the big game.
So, here's my thing here. I look back at last weekend. Now, no surprise if you follow me on Twitter. Like, I didn't have a great round of 16, round of 8. Like, the first weekend was okay. Last weekend, not good. Big reason for that. I've had it in me to oppose NC State throughout this tournament. They were a team that I got to see play in person a couple times. I watched a ton this year. And so as someone that's really kind of watched this NC State team from early in the season until now, it makes this run even more ridiculous. They lose the shot quality battle in basically every game. Their shot selection's been horrific all season. It's gotten better. So this run truly is incredible. I have to look at this and say, okay, I just laid 7 with Marquette. I came back and laid 7 with Duke. I make Purdue better than those two teams. I would say marginally better than Marquette and Duke. So why would I not come back and just lay 9 here? This is another one where if I'm just looking at my number, I'd probably have this more like 12 and a half, like maybe Purdue minus 12 and a half. But again, it's March and this is just, sometimes I was having a conversation with someone, Kel, and I was like, sometimes I wish I was naive at this time of year where it's just like, okay, like UConn smashes everyone. Let's just they'll figure it out. They'll get there. NC State is blessed by the gods. Like, let's just bet this 300-pounder. He's going to just dance all over the floor, hit fadeaway jumpers, and it's going to be fine. But
what I'm saying? I mean, did you see Clay's tweet saying we got to get this guy on a football field? The footwork, the O-line, and see. Listen, that is a good question from Shogun Mike. Who has the edge matchup wise? I think it has to be Zach Edey.
Oh my God, the matchup,
the fan favorite here, but Zach Edey has gotten the calls all year long. All I was asking was for them to be more consistent, right? He's a big guy. Of course he's going to draw fouls, but didn't that also mean he's going to create them?
Yeah, the matchup should be heavily tilted in favor of Purdue. The thing I don't understand at all is that Oakland, so the one time I actually cashed fading NC State was with Oakland plus the points. Oakland University, right? From the Horizon League. That was the team that almost ended NC State's tournament. They sat in a very basic zone the whole game. And it really, like, to me, like a team like Marquette, I guess I just thought like Marquette or Duke would have been able to exploit that a little bit more. And Duke's game plan, just no adjustments from Shire. That was really disappointing. I think Marquette probably wins that game going away if they're not 4 for 31 from three. So when I look at Purdue, number 2 offensive efficiency this year in the country, they can play through Edey. They have 3-point shooters. They've been a top 20 defense all year. I'd be really surprised if Purdue just doesn't have a great game plan. And if they do, I just don't see NC State hanging within 10. Like, I just think the magic finally runs out. But again, I've been wrong about that the whole time. So, I have to at least, like, that's the tough part here, Cal. I've been wrong. I said that last week.
Listen, you're absolutely right. It's almost like you want to start March Madness without even watching. You just want to bet the favorites. You just want to bet the teams that are hot and just keep it on rolling. Because, I bet against NC State round 1, and that was it. I was like, all right, guess this team isn't tired. I guess this team is a lot higher power rated than everybody else. I mean, yes, you want to peak at the right time, but you're right. I watched some of this NC State team. They're not that good even in February. I mean, they limped into the ACC tournament. A switch got flipped and boom, now here we are in the Final Four.
Yeah, it's truly been incredible because you go back to like mid-January. So I went third week in January. I was down in Raleigh and I saw them play Virginia Tech. And then like a week later, they came up here to play Syracuse and were just lifeless in both games. The shot selection was terrible. Couldn't really figure out how to attack the rim against a Virginia Tech team that's like was as bad as any team in the ACC at defending the rim. So like I do think they've improved, but I don't think they've improved this drastically. And it's just like I really truly do believe that they've had the good fortune of running into teams that seem to play their worst offensive game against them. Marquette going 4 for 31 from 3. Duke, for whatever reason, decided that they were going to play Burns straight up one-on-one, and like they had no answer. They were taking mid-range jumpers, never made any adjustments. John Shire, not a great coach, so that doesn't really surprise me. But like, I don't know, like Painter, he gets heat for the couple early exits from the tournament, but he's a good basketball coach, and this Purdue team's been awesome for like 3 years. I feel like Purdue has their moment, and they probably have it by running NC State out of the gym. That's what I think.
All right, Chosen One wants to know, should he sprinkle on any futures just in case? Here's what I'm going to say. I have UConn plus 750. As we don't have a ton of money on it, John Murray and I just threw some shekels on it for our audience, something to cheer for. And what we were supposed to do and what we are doing is to bet them and to roll it over, because usually it's better than pre-flop. But UConn has just been so highly power rated that it is not even going to pay, I think, $300 on the $500 we've ended up rolling. So to say, should I throw a little bit? I wouldn't throw it on Bama money line. If anything, or I wouldn't throw it on a Bama future. If anything, you're going to want to roll it over, right? Because Bama will be a dog to Purdue if they can beat UConn. Very slight underdog, but I think it will pay better than the futures. NC State will definitely be a dog to either UConn or Alabama. So just some basic futures betting liabilities there. It's better to just roll the money over than to take the futures. I don't know, Trig. I didn't love the plus 750. I gave our audience a ration of shit and said, you guys are a bunch of chalk-eating weasels. And now it looks like, UConn's just going to waltz back in there and get themselves a national championship. Would you hedge it all with a little bit of Alabama money line or no?
I don't think so. I don't think unless you have this monster position on UConn, like CT has a good number on UConn. And I got to be honest, like, I have such an embarrassingly small amount on like 10 to 1 that I can't even I'm not even going to tell people that I bet 10 to 1. You know what I mean? It's like, I should have came in bigger. I believe at the time, I didn't really think they were going to repeat. And then, like you said, Cal, like, look at us now, look at it now. I'd love to have plus 750, plus 800, 10 to 1 on UConn. I mean, I guess the only team I think I would take maybe there's value on Purdue just because like the market is so out of whack in favor of UConn. I mean, you're talking about trying to see what the current odds are for that. for Purdue. But like you're getting like a 10-point favorite in the Final Four. That'll be an underdog in the next round. But like, let's just say Alabama somehow sprung the upset. Like Purdue would probably be favorite there, right?
Yeah,
So I
I
don't
have
know.
Purdue
I'm
minus
looking
1.5.
Right. So you're talking about, but again, like what is it?
Purdue
Yeah, like
plus
plus 205 is not
305.
good enough.
Plus 200. Well, I guess it just kind of depends. Let me look at the Hard Rock app and see what I can find
So
here.
in that case, Kelly, like if you're saying that we would only make Purdue and Alabama close to a pick, I guess the team you would take a shot with would be Alabama, because that's the difference. You're getting 16-1 as opposed to 2-1. So I think if you were going to take a shot with someone other than UConn, it would have to be Bama. Like I'd much rather have Bama 16-1 than NC State 16-1.
So right now, Hard Rock here in Florida has UConn minus 195 to win the whole thing. Purdue 2-1, Bama 16-1, NC State 1750.
Right, like why would you want NC State 1750?
So I almost wonder.
If you could have Bama 16-1.
Right, so Bama is plus $5. And maybe they make Purdue a much bigger favorite in that game than I do, because that doesn't make any sense. If you can get Bama at 16-1, that's better than rolling it over.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, neutral floor. Like I guess I'm not really sure. I kind of agree with you. I can't imagine Purdue's more than like a 2.5 point favorite in that game. If it's Purdue,
I'm gonna ask
Bama.
Sean Murray.
That's interesting because I'm with you, Kel. I would maybe make Purdue like -2, -2.5.
-2.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was 1.5. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
I just asked him. I'm genuinely curious. We'll see if he actually writes me back. Okay. Well, that's pretty much all I've got for today, boys and girls. You guys were pretty quiet in the chat. I know it's just a festive Wednesday, downtime before the Masters, before the national championship. I'll call it one last call if you guys have a question for Adam.
Early today.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue with early baseball. And I'm going to figure out what we're going to do with this show over the next few weeks. I got a couple of ideas. We'll see, because we've got hockey playoffs coming up. Carmine Bianco will be joining us tomorrow for the last day of regular season hockey. Obviously, Adam will join to do some baseball, some Korean baseball. Hakeem will join us for some NBA, as well as Andrew McGinnis, Andy Lang with some prop bets. So we're going to keep the show rolling. Appreciate you guys as always. At Top Flight SI is Adam's social media profile on X. If you guys want to follow him, he gives out a ton of free information over there. Kelly in Vegas. Again, guys, splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. If you guys would like to join Pam and I's Masters pool, don't worry, I'm totally screwed. I've done zero Masters research, so you are going to get a $100 donation from me from at least 2 entries. Maybe 3. We'll see. Anyway, have a wonderful Wednesday night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.